Hi, my name is Kristen, and on this channel, we talk about long distance relationships and faith. And today on this video, we are going to do an open discussion with our special guest for our new series called Ghosting Away. So if that's something you're interested in, keep on watching. Hey, what's up? Welcome to Kristen Cares.
Hi, thank you so much for bringing me on. Super excited.
Of course. Can you tell everyone about yourself? Go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Justin Alvarado. I'm a 22-year-old CEO and founder of my own company. It's a sports card business, and I'm a junior jock at Magic 89.9. I used to write for the NBA under Clutch Points. I do a lot of other things on the side. Podcasting, writing, modeling, voiceover acting, hosting. And yeah, I get my background from the LSU, as you know. I was a psychology major when I was in college. And I just got out of a relationship after 4 years. So, super excited to talk about all of this.
Right. We could probably touch a little bit on breakups. Justin, or Alves, and I, we are basically teammates. We came from the same school in the Salle University, and that's how we got connected. And we have background with dancing. So that's how we know each other. All right, so we're going to go and dive into this because this is a very highly requested topic for me, at least, on this channel. And the people that have asked for it just wanted to stay anonymous, but it is a hot topic and it is a very touchy subject. So we're going to start by asking you if you've ever experienced being ghosted before.
On the receiving end, I have not, but I did do the act itself for around a week with my ex, and it wasn't like super I'd say bad or anything. I would do it because I just wanted space as of the moment. It's not like I just felt like doing it for whatever reason.
For fun.
Yeah.
So, how long were you guys together before you decided to ghost?
We were together for 4 years. We had a big fight. I just didn't want to talk, so we didn't talk for a week. But that's pretty much it. I mean, I know some people like really ghost like permanently.
Yeah, like
so.
But yours was kind of like a pause, and then you guys talked again.
Yeah.
So it's like a week of ghosting. It's not really like forever ghosting.
Yeah, and I'd say ghosting because I didn't really say. I guess that was
Why?
on me. But yeah, I didn't say why. I didn't want to talk. I just like flat out didn't talk. So
right. Like you needed that space. So maybe we can also talk about that. Like, why do you think, maybe on the male perspective, why do you think men would be ghosting a woman, or what would be the reasons they would want to do it?
Well, actually, this is pretty cool because I actually get to kind of use my psychology degree, which I've never used ever since I've graduated. But more or less, I think more than just being a guy, it's sort of the same feel as the fight or flight response. You know, when you're in situations. And yeah, it's basically, it's either you deal with something confrontational or you just, flat out try to run away from it. And from a guy's perspective, sometimes it could be, I think, a lot of reasons. Sometimes it's the topic itself. You just want to get away from the topic itself, from a current situation. Or sometimes I know people do it for fun. Sometimes it's the ego, just not wanting to give in to the other person. So in my case, it was just me having too much to deal with when we had that argument.
Right.
And yeah, just flat out didn't want to talk.
Probably like the pressure too and all the stress around it.
Yeah,
I get it. But I think from my perspective, I'm the one that was receiving this, the ghosting part. So what happened was I was trying to reach out. But then again, mine was a long distance relationship completely. Like it started online and it ended online. So we didn't really have like the physical like part of the relationship, which I'm guessing you guys had since you've been together for 4 years. So I'm guessing in college. So I was able to deal. I just, dealt with it. Like I had to first embrace the fact and accept that he's never gonna speak to me ever again. So that's something that I had to learn to let go and kind of tell myself over and over, or forgive myself first, forgive myself and not blame myself for him leaving, because there could be other factors as to why. And also like learn to not dwell. Coming into terms with it was really liberating too, because that gave me the courage to share my story, and that allowed others to feel inspired to reach out and to tell me their story. And in turn, I was able to give them like an advice or something sound to help them through what they're going through. So, speaking of that, have you ever been consoled by a friend, a guy or a girl that has been ghosted before? And how was that? Where you had to console someone?
Me being consoled, no. But me consoling someone else, yeah. Because just a little backstory, I was assistant company manager in my last year in LSDC.
Right.
So very HR, very
Human
big on
based.
relationships
Right.
with teammates. So that's where I really got to bond and talk and hear a lot of problems from different people. And not even just the dance stuff. Like I even heard some relationship problems, mental health problems, all across the board. And yeah, it came across surprisingly often, relationship problems. I thought I wouldn't have to deal with that, but
Mr.
I did.
Counselor.
And well, most of the time I always just said, focus on the things that you can control. Because if you're being ghosted, like as much as you want to reach out, as much as you want to stalk the other person, there's a lot of things you can do, but if that person doesn't want to hit that send button at the end of the day, there's nothing you can really do.
Right.
So I always just said that there's always going to be different ways to cope, whether it's healthy or not, that's up to you, but focus on the things that you can control. So your coping mechanism, your mindset, what you do in your downtime. And eventually, I believe that things will work out one way or another once you do figure out how to cope for yourself. And yeah, more often than not, it works out. Sometimes the other person reaches out again. Sometimes the other person, the person I'm consoling just, moves on. So
actually, like the thing with breakup is it does take time and it depends on the person. And it's never the same pattern for each person. So that's why, like, when someone asks me, I don't really have a set rule to tell them.
Right.
So I just, I ask them questions, and that's like the best way I feel like I could help them. And so, like, for those who are watching right now, actually, and you know that you're going through this and you feel that you need someone to, coach you through, feel free to follow me on Instagram as well. I'll leave them in the link. And it's hard, like, those things you don't usually or normally talk to people around you unless you really trust them, because it's a vulnerable place to be in, or to even accept that you've been ghosted, because, like, whoa, I've been dropped. You know what I mean? And not a lot of people are willing or have the open heart to even say that happened to me. They kind of just sometimes shove it to the side and say, yeah, we broke up, but really in the back of their heads, like, yeah, they just dumped me. So it's hard. It's a hard thing to accept, because our human nature is very prideful and we want to be the one to be dropping others, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
like,
it does.
You know what I mean? Even for the leaving end, I guess, was it hard for you?
We eventually talked, but we were in a rough spot personally, and we just broke it off a couple of months after. But to your point, I would say that even besides the whole pride thing with being ghosted, I think it's also just the value of information, because I realized when we broke up with my ex, we had a great talk, like 2 hours, just breaking up, talked about everything.
That's a while.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, we talked about everything. I asked everything I wanted to ask. So for some weird reason, I felt like I had closure already at that point. Like, even though it was so early and so fresh. But I realized that there was some information that I could wrap my head around, as opposed to ghosting, where you just have like zero clues whatsoever. And you're just left up in the air hanging. So
yeah. There's nothing
it's a little
to
bit trickier.
ponder on. That's right. At least you guys were able to, well, without 2 hours, wow, that's great.
For sure.
I don't think I've ever had a closure for that long, but I would probably love to have one, just so we can, tie up some loose ends. It would be nice to have like that final goodbye, or not even goodbye, just like, just a final like end of the chapter, and then we can both kind of safely move on or comfortably move on. Because in terms of ghosting, it's hard for you to move on because you're kind of wondering maybe they'll come back or maybe they'll speak to me again. You have that like questions in your head. But like if it lasts, for me, I think if it lasts more than a month, you gotta let it go. Like they're probably not gonna return back or say a word again. But if it's just like couple weeks or whatever, it should be kind of okay to wait. Like right now, for those listening that are going through ghosting and you're like, oh, how long do I need to wait? Girl, you gotta set up a deadline. I mean, like tell yourself, I'm gonna give myself a month to wait, and if they don't respond back, then that's it. Or even you can even tell the person if they like to see and zone you, because there's that, like they ghost you but they look at your messages. So you can even tell the person that, hey, I'm giving myself 3 weeks, and if you don't respond to me anymore, I'm gonna take it as a complete like no from you, that I'll just move on from here. Because at least you'll be able to have some closure for yourself, even if you don't hear from the person.
And at least you put yourself in a, I would say, position of power when you actually give a deadline.
Yeah.
Because whether the other person reads it or not, at least you sent a message that you're already set on this. If you don't want to cooperate on that date, then
it's up to you.
Yeah, that's on him or her.
I'm not gonna say that you love the person anymore, because you probably lost it along the way, but just an act of like maturity, and that you still care somehow for them as a person, that I'm giving you this so that you know and that you're informed, because I don't want you thinking that I'm still waiting when you're still going through whatever you're going through. Because a lot of things could be happening in their life, like you never know. They could be going through a rough time in their family or in their school or in their jobs, and they just really had to choose to drop you because at that time you're not one of the priorities. I guess it sounds harsh, but
yeah, but it makes sense.
Makes sense, right? Like sometimes people have to deal with things first before they're ready to deal with somebody else. Like they have to kind of mend themselves first before they can give more of themselves to others. Let's move on to like the more scientific. Would you say that it depends on the person's personality, or would it be like a mixture of personality and then environment and then other things? I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, it's always going to be a mix of everything. Like a default answer that you're gonna hear from a lot of psych majors when you ask them, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? What do you think he's gonna do? What do you think she's going to think? All of those questions, it's always going to be, it depends. And for good reason, because it's always going to depend on the circumstances. If the personality is a bit on the conservative side, tendencies are they tend to veer away from confrontation. And you can add in maybe the person's dealing with a family problem or something. And that adds to the stress of that person. And if you're going to add up to that stress, then chances are you're not going to get a reply from that person. So it's always going to be a mixture of things. So you can't always just take it as they seem. And even if they do say something, which actually happens often, like people say one thing but actually mean another. Sometimes it's not super reliable because there's always going to be something more. And yeah, it's something you have to sum up all in all, take everything into consideration, because that's one thing I learned being a psych major in 3 years, is that I have to take into account everything. Usually put myself in other people's shoes just to know and imagine what it feels like. So yeah, it's always going to be tough to always just figure out what exactly it is, because it's a totality of things. The good thing about that, though, is when you love a psych major, they're pretty understanding. So
because they know. When they know, they know.
Yeah.
That must have helped you throughout your relationship too, like being able to understand the psyche and just how a woman would think. Because they say a man's way of thinking and a woman's way of thinking are like planets away from each other. And yeah. All right. So we're gonna move on to like the levels of ghosting. So I want to categorize them into 4. So the first level would be like they're just talking and they've just gotten to know each other, and then suddenly they've been dropped, they've been ghosted. And then the second level would be they're dating exclusively already, probably gone on a couple dates and then was dropped. And then the third level would be like they're in a committed relationship and they're together already and then they've been dropped. And then lastly would probably be like they're married already and they've been dropped, which we're not going to touch too much on because both of us aren't married, but we're going to try to see what we can dissect with each level. So let's start with the level 1, which is just talking and they get ghosted. Would you say that it's acceptable, or do you still have to kind of tell the person a week later or something, or sometime in the future why you did it, or it's fine to just bye, drop the mic?
If it's just talking, me personally, I would of course love a heads up. But speaking in terms of, I guess, in a general sense, if it's just talking, especially in recent times that everything's online,
right,
then maybe just dropping it without any notice is a little okay.
Yeah,
I would say.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that because like it's different if it's talking in person and then suddenly the next day they don't talk to you. But
yeah,
now, well, it's very timely because the channel is about long distance relationships and it's mostly communication is done mostly online. So I was gonna ask you about that. Like, what do you think if it's online, like purely? Would it be acceptable? Would it be still kind of weird? I think it's a little okay, like you said.
Online blurs the lines a little bit because it's definitely way more than just texting, but it's not the same experience as in person.
In person, right?
So it blurs the lines a bit. For sure, it becomes trickier. I guess in a safer benchmark would be the level of intimacy already at that point.
Right,
like
yeah.
if you're super close already and even though you're just talking on Zoom, then for sure it's going to sting a bit more if you just drop it all of a sudden. But if it's just small talk every now and then,
it's fine.
Yeah,
I agree with Alves. It depends on the commitment and intimacy of the relationship, even if you're just talking. Because you could be talking and you guys could be sharing things that are, very deep and
right,
private that you don't share to other people and that you trust them. You shared it to them and then they dropped you. Don't know what they're going to do with the information. So it's like, hi, hello, where are you? But that makes sense. So I guess we can hop on to the dating one, like the next level, which is they're dating for a while, like probably gone on a couple dates. And then suddenly they're just dropped. How do you feel about that?
Okay. For me, I think that's unacceptable. Like, especially if you've built a relationship that's, talking every now and then, seeing each other every now and then. You have a deep level of intimacy already at that point. Like, not super serious, but, it's somewhat getting there. Like, if you're invested already that deep, I'd say you have to have the decency to at least have a proper conversation. Maybe
like,
even just a message.
Yeah.
Like
that would be much appreciated.
Yeah, like I'm lowering my standards already by just accepting a message.
Exactly.
But that would be way better than just, being
dropping
left
it.
hanging. Yeah.
Well, I've had an experience before where I wouldn't say he completely ghosted me because he still commented on stuff that I post or like my posts or sometimes messages me. But like we went on like a couple dates, just two times. And then after that, we had on the second date, we had like a deep talk about life. And I feel like that's kind of what made him ghost me the next day.
Oh no.
Because we might not have the same, future ahead, like in our brains. Like I had this thing in my life that I'm pursuing, and then he had this thing that he told me he was wanting to do, and I feel like it didn't align. So I was expecting him to, set up another date. Because it ended well. The night ended really well. So I was like, oh, okay, you're probably going to go on a third date or something. But no, like, none. So I was like, like, what? I mean, but I would have appreciated like a message even, because we weren't super intimate. We weren't super like committed, but we did share things that were like life based. And I would have appreciated like hey, I just realized that we don't have the same path in life. Maybe this is it for us. Something like that. Because I mean, for a woman's perspective, even if the guy feel like they're gonna hurt her a lot, just saying what you want to say truthfully, I think she'll appreciate it. At the moment, of course, it'll pinch her heart or she'll feel sad. But at the end of the day, I think she'll still appreciate if you tell her the truth as to why. But if you just drop her, she's gonna go. That's when they go crazy, Like some women, I'm not even lying, like could get really intense and just, trying to wrap their head around why, because they're left wondering. Okay, we're gonna go on to third tier here, the third level, which is committed relationship, probably going up for more than a year or so. First, let's compare dropping completely, not saying a word forever, and then the other one would be like dropping, and then one day in the future would say something.
Complete drop is like 100% unacceptable. Like, I can't lower my standards anymore for that. Like, if you've been dating for a year, like,
Come on.
like, okay, that requires not even just a message, that requires a decent conversation, because you literally gave a year of your life to this person, and whether you were in it as much as him or her, it's all the same that, you know, you both put in the same amount of time in the relationship. So it's only fair that you have a decent conversation, because I get that the whole ghosting thing can be, quote unquote, the easy way out.
Yes.
Because you can, you know, avoid problems. And I think that's why it's become more rampant nowadays. It's becoming a term. Like, I even remember back then in high school. When I was in high school, I haven't even heard of the term. But
I know. It's recent.
College,
it's very recent.
Yeah. But when I was in college, I was surprised that there were some thesis research already going around the concept of ghosting.
Okay.
So I was like, wow, that was fast. Like, usually for something to be on research papers, you know, it takes years. And
you need a lot of data, right?
Yeah. So I was surprised that, wow, ghosting is big. And it's not just like a local thing. You know, it's
everywhere.
Somewhere. Yeah, it's everywhere, basically. So, as a decent human being, you just owe it to the person.
Decent human being. Let's go on to the other comparison. So this one, they're dropping you, but like some point in time, like they decide that they'll talk to you.
Yeah, that's a bit weird, I would say. Although I did sort of do that, but in a much smaller scale,
Lesser.
like just one week.
1 week,
you know? So like for me, a 1 week ghost is a little okay. Especially given the circumstances. But for example, dating for a year, ghosted for a month, and suddenly you message the other person. It's a bit weird. Like, first of all, you question the timing, because if you've ghosted someone for a month, why all of a sudden would you message that person again after a month? You know, like,
yeah, it's weird.
For sure, something happened. Maybe you, I don't know, had a realization. Maybe you had a drink and you just decided to miss the other person. I mean, that happens. So it's a bit weird, I would say, because if you're gonna ghost someone, then you're assuming that all ties are cut off.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you're going to bring it back for some weird reason, whether you miss him or her, then it's a bit sketch, I would say.
Careful.
Like, yeah, just be careful, because I mean, it could work out. I mean, if it does work out, then, you know, congrats, and
all the best.
I'll be happy.
All the best for you.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm a little bit skeptic about that whole.
Yeah, I was gonna say same thing, because if that happened to me, I probably would have been in a headspace and a heart space where I'm already moving on. So like, why are you back? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I'm over here and you're over there, you know, trying to catch me. But I think it's weird if you're in that situation. First of all, know your worth. Like, I can't stress that enough. Like, I keep getting messages about, what if this, what if that? And I'm just, you know, like this. And I'm like, know your worth. What are you worth? Are you worth this or are you not? Because if you don't know your worth, you probably won't be able to decide for yourself. And you probably won't be able to take a stand for yourself, because you're measuring yourself depending on this person's love. And what if it fluctuates? Then your value fluctuates. You know what I mean? So know yourself first. Like, do you deserve something like this or not? Because if you're giving so much, if you're giving, let's say 100% in this relationship, and you're only getting like 10, come on. You know, like, maybe it's time to let them go and they can find another 10, you know. So
yeah,
that brings us to like marriage. I guess we can kind of lightly touch on it because we won't have anything to reference on. But, well, I guess in general, it's just really unacceptable because you're married, right? Because I don't even know if we can discuss this.
Yeah,
like,
zero debate.
That's so harsh, dude. Like, I don't think I've ever encountered a married couple who said, oh, my husband or my wife just ghosted me out of nowhere. If that's happening to you, I'm really sorry that you have to go through that. Like, no one, I wouldn't wish that upon anyone. Yeah, let me know if you are, so like we can, you know, talk. I'm always available through messages if you guys need any. Actually, like I open it up to people. Sometimes they would leave comments about their relationship, and I feel that if it's like a conversation that needs to have privacy, I turn them to Instagram. So if you're watching and you need that, please turn yourself to my Instagram account. But if you're just here to watch silently the things that we're talking about here, then just keep on watching. I hope that you are learning some things and that you're realizing some things about this situation that you're going through. Can you give our people some, I guess, food for thought first?
Well, coming from a recent breakup,
Mm-hmm.
I learned personally that nothing in life is ever going to be a sure thing.
Mm.
And I learned it the hard way because, I guess, just for a little backstory,
Mm-hmm.
we were together since high school. It was great. It was a great relationship. Like, we traveled, our
Mm-hmm.
families were close.
Mm.
Like, if you asked me back then, if I had to pick whether marry her or break up, I would say marry. Like,
Right. Mm-hmm.
I was
You were there.
super
You were there.
into it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was so sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that kind of backfired in a sense because I got complacent.
Mm.
And yeah, it didn't work out. And I realized that even though I was so sure of that one thing, it didn't work out. So
Mm-hmm.
ever since that, I've been treating everything else in my life with so much more value.
Oh.
Like, that's what I learned.
Mm-hmm.
Wherein, even though I'm confident about something, if it's a relationship, if it's a business, if it's whatever it is, even if I'm so confident,
Mm-hmm.
I always make it a point that confidence doesn't turn into complacency.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was the downfall of my relationship. So, yeah, it's worked out well, I would say. I've been doing really well in my business. I've been reaching out to more people, trying to reconnect
Mm-hmm.
and just, value the relationships that I've maybe kind of let go over the years. Because, I mean, we all know that when you're in a relationship, you sort of drift away
Yeah.
from your circle. You know, sometimes the drift is not so apparent. Sometimes it's really big. It depends. But in any shape or form, it does happen. So
It does. Yeah.
I mean, I tried to fix that. And yeah, just when it comes to ghosting as well, like, I get that maybe you could have the most amazing conversations every single night and it could be great and you could feel like the happiest person in the world.
Mm.
And
Mm-hmm.
if you're feeling that, then yeah, good for you. But I guess treasure it. Don't just assume that, it could be that way for the rest of your life.
Exactly.
Because even though you're, 100% sure, so happy and all that, there could always be something that could mess up. I mean, hopefully not, but, just, I don't know if it's the skeptic in me talking right now, but I mean, that's what I learned like just a couple of months ago. So
Yeah, but I think it's very timely because you wouldn't be able to say those words if you didn't yourself go through it. So I myself appreciate you saying that, being vulnerable in front of the audience, and even like, telling them about what you experienced, because that in itself takes courage. And it's hard to, talk about those things, especially if it's kind of fresh. For the people out there that are just listening, tuning in, like food for thought, maybe if you are being ghosted right now and you feel that you've been abandoned, you have to first learn that, okay, it's fine to feel this way. It's fine to feel hurt, but what's not fine is that you stay there and that you don't take steps to move on for yourself, because if you stay, you're gonna just rot there forever. So know that you need time to say that, okay, on this day I'm gonna do it. On this day I will maybe delete their name on my contacts, or on this day I'm going to delete our pictures together. Take steps, do something, because I feel like ghosting could be so paralyzing to many
right.
people, and they get stuck there, and then it could get traumatizing in the long run, and then they bring that hurt to their next relationship that they haven't healed in, and then when a trigger sets off in that relationship, they want to just break up with that relationship just because they weren't able to fix the last one that they just had. So you really have to heal, be it in whatever way that you think is best, but you have to heal, because if not, when you do meet that person that's supposed to be for you, and you have that trigger with you, that's not going to be very good for this person. And it's unfair for this person because they prepared themselves. They're so ready to give you like everything, and they have healed from all the baggages they had, and you are still here, carrying everything with you, loading it to them. So you have to heal and you have to not get stuck. I think that's for food for thought. Okay, so I guess we can end with like some words of encouragement coming from a breakup and maybe like a little bit of ghosting experience. Some enlightening words to help our viewers because I know they're gonna need that. Go ahead.
I guess to add to your point,
Mm-hmm.
it's always just going to be a game of self-awareness, whether it's a relationship, whether it's career, school, or whatever it is. I think it's always going to be important to know your value, know your worth, and it helps if you know what you're good at. Because for me, something I learned was self-awareness took me so many places. If you talked to me 2 years ago, I was a very different person. I went through a lot of life changes this past year, and it's been a game of self-awareness because even though I've lost a relationship that I've treasured for the past 4 years, I can honestly say I'm in a good situation right now. And even though I went through that whole phase of locking myself in my room, crying to Drake for a day, actually, I just did that for a day, surprisingly. I thought I'd go through that maybe a couple of days, maybe a week or a month, but because I was self-aware and I knew that, okay, I'm sad and stuff happened, I realized that, okay, number one, I have a business to run that I can't just like leave because it's not gonna run itself. Number two, I'm writing a book actually, and I have deadlines with the publisher, so I can also leave that. And I realized that I was doing so many other things in life, and I felt good about it. And even though the breakup sucked, I felt that I was in a good situation
Right.
besides the breakup because I was aware that okay, like it's not the end of the world. I still have this, I still have that. I'm happy with this, I'm happy with that. And down the line, if we get back together, I don't know, it's a question mark. Or down the line, if I get into a new relationship, it's still a question mark. But it's all gonna be icing on the cake from there, because I'm already self-aware. But it would be a great icing on the cake, of course. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But
No, what I love what you said, like
self-awareness.
self-awareness, because at the end of the day, you really have to realize like the pain, the rejection, the mistakes, the faults isn't you.
Right.
That's a part of who you're gonna become. So like sometimes, because people are like, oh, this person rejected me, so I'm a reject. Like you can't associate yourself with something that wasn't good that you went through. You have to kind of learn that it's just a part of that journey and that it's not you. Like don't blame yourself. Like this thing too. Like stop blaming yourself for the ghost. There could be many other reasons why they did it, and for what you're probably not part of the reasons too. Like maybe they just really had to do it. Always look on ahead with some hope that there's a better tomorrow. Like it sounds cliche, but like it's true. Like you gotta get up, wake up, do your thing, go to school, go to work, just do something and get up and go because that's gonna help you. All right, to wrap it up, Justin or Alves, please let the people know where they could follow you or where they could find you. Go ahead.
My personal is at Justin_Alves for Instagram, and the company that I'm running is called My Valuable Player as well on Instagram. It's a sports card business. It's going to take maybe a good 10 minutes to explain it, so you can just look at the Instagram page.
Right.
And we also have a YouTube channel. I do my own podcast there. We have influencers, athletes, personalities. We kind of chat every now and then about different topics related to sports and whatnot. And I think that's pretty much it. I don't have anything else to plug in, but besides that, do support Kristen Care's channel because I reached out to her a couple of weeks ago because like I said, I've been trying to reconnect with other people. And she's been, I would say, she's always been a great positive role model in my life. But I never really just, I never expressed it.
Yeah.
I would like,
I didn't know.
basically, I've always been just, oh wow, yeah, she's great. Like, she has a lot of great insight. She's such a positive character and all that. Like, I'd remember you visiting training and just lightening up the mood for whatever reason, whether it's conditioning or whether it's dev or whatever it is.
Mind you, we were exercising. We're doing push-ups.
It was just, I don't know, for some weird reason. And yeah, that's why I reached out. So yeah, do support her.
Wow. Praise God. Thank you so much. Like, wow, that's really amazing. Wow. I didn't pay him to say that, okay? Because they might think I paid you, but guys, that's clearly from him, not me. No, but I will leave all of Alv's links below. If you are interested in anything that he has told you about, please go follow him, support him. If you live in the Philippines, he resides in the Philippines, so yeah, just follow him there. If you need him for any type of work related to whatever he's doing, you can also reach him via Instagram. Am I right? Yeah. But
sure.
That's it, guys. Like, I hope that you gained some encouragement, wisdom, and even, related to some of the things that we talked about here. I'm sure that from now you'll know your value, and from now you'll probably take a step forward from being ghosted or ghosting. If you are tuning in on Kristen Cares, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so that you can be notified when we got new uploads. And I think that's it. And as always, I will see you later.